Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, not just thirsty but dry? Like your mouth forgot what moisture even feels like, your tongue heavy, your throat scratchy. And for a brief moment, you just lie there staring into the dark thinking, why does this keep happening to me? Because here's the truth nobody really sits you down and explains after 60. Your body doesn't suddenly break. It changes quietly. It shifts in ways that don't scream at first. It whispers, it nudges, it gives you small, almost forgettable signs, and dry mouth is one of those signs that most people ignore. Laugh off, blame on the weather, the fan, the AC, or just getting older. But what if that dryness isn't random at all? What if it's your body trying to get your attention before something deeper develops? And yeah, I get it. That sounds a little intense, maybe even dramatic, but stick with me because this is where things start connecting in ways you probably didn't expect. Because dry mouth after 60 isn't just about comfort, it's about function. It's about what your body is producing, regulating, balancing every single night while you sleep. And when something as basic as saliva starts changing, that's not random, that's chemistry, that's biology. That's your internal system adjusting or struggling. And let me tell you about something that catches almost everyone off guard. Medications. Yeah, those same pills you trust. The ones sitting neatly in that weekly pill organizer. Blood pressure meds, antidepressants, antihistamines, even some pain relievers. They don't just fix one thing. They affect your entire system. And one of the most common side effects is reduced saliva production, meaning your mouth dries out slowly night after night. And the wild part is most people never connect the dots. They just keep taking the meds, keep waking up dry, and never ask, never question, never realize that something designed to help might also be creating a new issue that needs attention. And then there's breathing. Something so simple you never think about it until it changes. Until maybe your nose gets a little more congested as you age. Maybe your airway relaxes more during sleep. Maybe you start breathing through your mouth without even realizing it. And suddenly you're spending 6, 7, 8 hours pulling air directly through your mouth, drying everything out like a slow, invisible wind. And you wake up feeling like you just crossed a desert overnight. And here's where it gets deeper. Because mouth breathing isn't always just a habit. Sometimes it's linked to sleep apnea. And sleep apnea isn't just about snoring. It's about interrupted breathing, oxygen levels dropping, your heart working harder than it should while you're supposed to be resting. And that's where a simple dry mouth can actually be connected to something that impacts your heart, your energy, even your memory over time. And now suddenly that small symptom doesn't feel so small anymore. And then we move into something even more common, dehydration, but not the obvious kind. Not the kind where you feel extremely thirsty and grab a glass of water. No, after 60 your thirst mechanism weakens, meaning your body doesn't signal you the same way anymore. So you could be mildly dehydrated all day and not even notice it. And that dryness builds slowly, quietly, showing up at night when your body has the least support. And you wake up confused because you think you drank enough. But your body needed more. And here's where people make a mistake. They try to fix nighttime dryness by drinking water right before bed, but that's not solving the problem. That's just reacting to it. The real fix happens during the day. Consistent hydration, steady intake, supporting your system before the dryness even begins. And then there's something a little less talked about, but incredibly important. Your salivary glands themselves, the tiny, powerful parts of your body responsible for producing saliva. They can slow down with age. They can be affected by infections, inflammation, even certain medical treatments. And when they don't function the way they used to, your mouth becomes the first place you notice it. Dry, uncomfortable, sometimes even painful. And here's where it gets serious, because chronic dry mouth isn't just annoying. It can affect your teeth, your gums, your digestion, your ability to speak comfortably, even your sleep quality. And yet most people still brush it off, still tell themselves it's nothing, still delay looking deeper. And maybe the most overlooked connection of all, blood sugar. Because when your body struggles to regulate glucose levels, one of the early signs can be persistent dry mouth, especially at night, and this ties directly into diabetes, something millions of people over 60 are dealing with, many without even realizing it early on. And again, the body gives hints, subtle signals, not alarms, not emergencies, just small consistent patterns that say, hey, something's off. And the question becomes, are you paying attention, or are you dismissing it because it feels easier to ignore, because ignoring feels safe in the moment? But long term, it's what creates bigger problems. And I know this might feel like a lot, like all of a sudden dry mouth went from a minor inconvenience to something layered and complex. But that's exactly the point. The smallest symptoms often carry the most important messages. And the people who stay healthier longer aren't the ones who never have symptoms. They're the ones who listen early, act early, adjust early, and don't wait until things escalate. And if any part of this feels familiar, if you've had those nights where you wake up dry, uncomfortable, maybe even slightly worried, but brushed it off the next morning, this is your moment to pause and reconsider, because your body isn't working against you. It's communicating with you, and every signal matters more than you think. And here's where everything shifts, because once you stop seeing dry mouth as just a random annoyance and start seeing it as a message, your entire perspective changes. You begin to notice patterns. You start asking better questions. You become aware in a way most people never do. And that awareness alone can change the direction of your health more than any medication ever could. Because now, instead of reacting, you're responding. Instead of ignoring, you're investigating, and that's powerful. That's where real control begins. And let me paint you a picture. Imagine waking up one morning not confused, not uncomfortable, but clear. Because you've taken the time to understand what your body needs. You've adjusted your hydration. You've talked to your doctor about your medications. You've paid attention to your breathing, your sleep, your daily habits, and slowly, that dryness starts fading. Not because you forced it, but because you addressed the root. And that's the difference most people miss. They chase symptoms, but they never look for causes. And life after 60 isn't about chasing comfort. It's about protecting function, maintaining independence, staying sharp, staying present, and every small signal your body gives you is part of that equation. And here's something that might hit a little deeper. Ignoring small signs doesn't just affect your health. It affects your future. It affects how you live, how you feel, how much energy you have to enjoy the people and moments that matter most. And I've seen it happen too many times. People brushing things off until one day they're forced to deal with something much bigger. Something that could have been managed, reduced, even avoided if they had just paid attention earlier. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this because you still have time. You still have control. You still have the ability to make small changes that create massive impact over time. And that's the opportunity hidden inside something as simple as dry mouth. It's not just a symptom. It's a doorway. A chance to check in with your body, to adjust your habits, to strengthen your awareness, and to take back control in a way that most people never fully do. And if you've made it this far, if you're still listening, still thinking, still reflecting, that already puts you ahead of the majority. Because most people don't stay long enough to understand. They look for quick answers, quick fixes. But real health doesn't work like that. It's built in layers, in awareness, in consistency, in small daily choices that don't feel dramatic, but add up over time. And now here's the most powerful suggestion I can give you. not just as advice, but as something you can actually carry forward. Start treating your body like a conversation, not a machine. Don't wait for it to break before you listen. Don't wait for pain before you act. Instead, pay attention to the small things, the subtle shifts, the patterns that repeat, because those are the early signals that give you the greatest advantage. Create a simple habit of checking in with yourself daily. How did you sleep? How did you feel waking up? What felt different? What felt off? And instead of ignoring those answers, explore them gently, consistently, without fear, but with curiosity. Because curiosity leads to awareness, and awareness leads to better decisions. And better decisions lead to a stronger, healthier future. And if there's one thing you take from this, let it be this: your body is not your enemy, it's your partner. It's constantly working to keep you alive, balanced, functioning, and when something changes, it's not random, it's communication. And the sooner you start listening, the more control you gain, not just over your health, but over your life. And that's something no one can take from you. So don't ignore the dryness, don't dismiss the signals. Lean into them, understand them, act on them. Because the small things you pay attention to today are the big things that protect you tomorrow. And your future self, the one you're becoming every single day, is depending on you to make that choice right now.
And now here's the part most people never reach. The part where everything you've been hearing stops being just information and starts becoming a decision. Because knowing something doesn't change your life, acting on it does. And this is exactly where the gap is for most people after 60. They hear, they nod, they agree, but then they go right back to the same habits, the same routines, the same quiet ignoring of the signals their body keeps sending. And that's how small discomforts slowly turn into bigger problems, not overnight, not dramatically, but gradually, quietly, almost invisibly, until one day it's no longer something you can brush off. And dry mouth fits perfectly into that pattern. It starts small, almost laughable, something you fix with a sip of water, something you don't even mention to anyone. But what makes it dangerous isn't the symptom itself, it's the mindset around it, the habit of dismissing it, the habit of saying it's probably nothing, the habit of delaying awareness. Because that same mindset doesn't just apply to dry mouth, it applies to everything: your energy, your sleep, your digestion, your memory, your mood. And suddenly, you're not just ignoring one signal, you're ignoring a pattern. And patterns are what define your long-term health, not isolated moments. And here's where it gets real. Because after 60, your body becomes less forgiving. It doesn't bounce back the same way. It doesn't recover instantly from neglect, which means every small decision carries more weight. Every habit compounds faster, both positively and negatively. And that's why something as simple as noticing dry mouth and choosing to take it seriously can actually be the beginning of a completely different path. A path where you become more aware, more intentional, more connected to what your body is trying to tell you. And that connection changes everything. It changes how you eat, how you hydrate, how you sleep, how you respond to discomfort, and most importantly, it changes how early you catch things before they escalate. And let me tell you something that might surprise you. The healthiest people after 60 are not the ones who never experience symptoms. They're the ones who respond to them the fastest. They don't wait, they don't assume, they don't normalize discomfort. They investigate, they adjust, they take action while things are still small. And that's the real advantage, not perfection, but responsiveness. And you can build that starting right now, starting with something as simple as this. The next time you wake up with a dry mouth, don't just reach for water and move on. Pause for a second. Ask yourself what might have caused it. Was it something you ate, something you drank, a medication, your sleep position, your breathing, your hydration during the day? Start connecting the dots, because the more you connect, the more control you gain. And control doesn't mean fear, it means clarity. It means understanding what's happening inside your own body instead of guessing. And that clarity reduces anxiety, it reduces uncertainty, it gives you confidence in your health decisions. And confidence is something most people lose over time when they feel like their body is unpredictable. But your body isn't unpredictable. It's patterned, it's consistent, it responds to inputs. And once you start paying attention, those patterns become easier to read, easier to manage, easier to improve. And suddenly you're not just reacting to symptoms, you're preventing them. And prevention is where real power lives, because it keeps you independent, it keeps you active, it keeps you present in your life instead of constantly dealing with avoidable issues. And let's be honest, that's what most people want after 60. Not just to live longer, but to live better. To wake up feeling clear, comfortable, in control. To enjoy simple things without discomfort constantly pulling their attention away. And that starts with awareness, with small, consistent actions that don't feel dramatic but create massive impact over time. And dry mouth can be your starting point, your reminder, your signal that it's time to pay closer attention, not just to one symptom, but to your entire system, because everything is connected. Your hydration affects your energy affects your movement affects your sleep affects your overall health, and it all loops together. And when one part shifts, the others follow. So instead of isolating dry mouth as a standalone issue, see it as part of a bigger picture, a piece of feedback from your body that can guide you toward better habits, better awareness, and ultimately a better quality of life. And the truth is, you don't need extreme changes. You don't need complicated routines. You just need consistency. Small improvements repeated daily, paying attention, adjusting, refining, and trusting that those small efforts are building something bigger over time, because they are, whether you see it immediately or not. And this is where most people underestimate themselves. They think change has to be big to matter, but it doesn't. It just has to be consistent. And consistency is something you can control starting today. Starting with the next glass of water, the next night of sleep, the next moment you choose to listen instead of ignore. And that's how everything begins to shift, slowly, steadily, in a way that actually lasts. And if there's one thing I want to leave you with, something deeper than just information, something you can carry with you long after this is over, it's this. Stop waiting for your body to demand attention and start choosing to give it attention freely. Because the biggest mistake people make after 60 isn't aging itself, it's the delay in responding to what your body is already telling you. They wait for confirmation, for diagnosis, for something serious enough to force action. But by then, the process has already been happening for months, sometimes years, and the opportunity to handle it early, easily, gently, has already passed. So instead of living in that cycle, make a quiet but powerful shift in how you approach your health. Begin to treat every small symptom not as a problem, but as a message. Not something to fear, but something to understand. Because understanding creates control, and control creates confidence, and confidence allows you to live your life without constant worry in the background. And here's how you actually apply this in a real practical way. Start building a simple daily awareness habit. Nothing complicated, nothing overwhelming, just a few moments each day where you check in with yourself honestly. How do you feel? How did you sleep? What feels different? What feels off? And instead of brushing those answers aside, take them seriously, not emotionally, not fearfully, but calmly, logically, consistently. And over time, you'll begin to see patterns. You'll start recognizing what your body responds well to and what it doesn't. You'll become more in tune with yourself than you've ever been before. And that awareness alone will guide better decisions without you even forcing it. And when it comes to something like dry mouth, don't just react at night. Prepare during the day. Hydrate consistently. Review your medications with a professional if needed. Pay attention to your breathing and sleep environment. Create small, supportive habits that reduce the chances of the problem happening in the first place. Because prevention is always easier than correction, and more importantly, it keeps you in a position of strength instead of recovery. And this applies to everything, not just dry mouth. Every signal your body gives you is an opportunity, an early chance to adjust before things become complicated. And the people who thrive after 60 are not the ones who avoid all problems. They're the ones who respond early, adapt quickly, and stay aware consistently. And you can be one of those people starting right now. Not with a dramatic change, not with a complete life overhaul, but with a simple decision to listen more closely, act more consistently, and respect the signals your body is already giving you. Because at the end of the day, your health isn't controlled by one big moment. It's shaped by hundreds of small decisions made quietly over time. And every time you choose to pay attention instead of ignore, to act instead of delay, you're building a stronger, more stable future for yourself. One where you're not just living longer, but living better, with more clarity, more comfort, more control. And that's something worth protecting, starting today.